Nothing to see here for the signers anyways, and they have a copy if they want the details. But this is the order. It tells you everything about the signing. It tells you the company's name, which is Miko's. Everything that you need to know, guys. So I'm just gonna skim through it, but it tells you where it came from. So it came from Modesto, California. It tells you who the borrower's names are. So it's gonna be Rogers, Richard Williams, and this is his phone number right here. So this is the phone number that you called through the confirmation email, because all of this you already got through your confirmation email before you even printed it out. So you should have looked at this, and that's how you made your confirmation call. And this is a refinance, so that's why it's so thick. Refinances are usually really thick, and this is actually being humble because refinances sometimes are a lot thicker than this. Okay, so anyway, so this is just the front page, nothing to sign here. Just you don't necessarily have to go over it with them. Flip that over. I usually flip it over to my right. This is the closing instructions. So the closing instructions, there's nothing to sign. This comes with the documents. You actually have to read these. This is very important. So this is what I was talking about, guys. Right here it says, please use blue ink when signing the papers. You see that? So you will always have, and it tells you examples, errors in admission, everything that you need to know, guys. Read these closing instructions. These are important. They didn't just put this in here for decoration. They put this in there because they want you to make sure you get everything checked off. So before you leave the signing, make sure that everything on this page is exactly what you did. You have a blue pen, like I have right here, and everything you need to know. Most, if not every document will have a closing instructions. It just won't always look like this. All right, so this is what's called a closing disclosure. So closing disclosure is actually a nationwide mandate. So if they're giving out a loan, this closing disclosure has to be in the documents. All right, so this closing disclosure, how I go through it, I usually take the page, I turn it this way to the signers, and then I give a brief of what a closing disclosure does, and I tell them how it breaks down their loan amount, their interest rate, and I go down and pretty much read everything. And I tell them, I just want you to make sure that these numbers are familiar to you, they look good to you, you're okay with these numbers, and make sure that this checkbox is correct, because this is saying that they're getting 2,066 from the borrower, right? So that's saying that they owe the company 2,666 and 92 cents. If this closing disclosure is incorrect, this whole document, this whole packet is most likely going to be incorrect. So at this moment, if this document is incorrect, you want to tell the signers that they can call their realtor, their lender, but you want to make sure that these numbers are correct, because if these aren't correct, there's almost no point in continuing. And on the fourth page is where they actually sign, right here. Flip that over. Okay, so now that we got through the closing disclosure, which is very important, this is what's called a settlement statement. So a settlement statement is also very important, which is why it says here critical document. I'll just read this and I'll try to break it down in simple terms, but it presents the settlement charges for the loan. So this settlement statement should have a breakdown of all the charges that was associated with the signing. So this is a refinance. So whatever charges that went on with the refinance, the entire process, it's all listed on the settlement statement. Even your notary services, even you being a notary, usually it's on here as well. A lot of settlement statements have a line somewhere where it says notary. Like it just shows that a notary is being paid, because this is where all the charges involved with the signing are going to be located for the most part. When it comes to numbers, I just let them know. I literally say this. This is a settlement statement. It breaks down all the charges that was associated with this loan, pass it to them and give them their intimate time is what I like to call it, so that they can look at the numbers, so that they at least have seen the numbers, okay? Because it's not my job to break down these numbers and tell them why these numbers are the way they are, okay? I'm not the lender. I don't know why the lender did this, all right? Whatever you and the lender agreed with, that's between you guys to converse and figure out why these numbers are the way they are. Okay? So I'm gonna flip this over. That's the settlement statement, but usually the second page is where they have to sign. So you see how it says his name here, Richard Williams Rogers. And the instructions in the front will tell you if they want him to sign as Richard Williams Rogers or if he's okay to just sign his regular signature. This is just an additional document to the settlement statement, which is also called the HUD. All right, so if somebody said the HUD, they're talking about the settlement statement. So this is a continuation of that, and it has some information here, like the payoff. All you're here for is to make sure that he agrees with this, he's okay with this number, he's familiar with this number, and if he is going to sign down here and date right there and go about his business. All right, so like I said, when I see numbers, I pass it right on over to them. Make sure these numbers are okay with you. All right, if you don't understand them, call your lender, and your lender is going to break them down and tell you why these numbers are the way they are, okay? So we're going to flip them over. Nothing to sign on this one. I just wanted them to see it. So I had him see it. He said he's all good with it. So this is what's called a notice of right to cancel, okay? So this is a critical document. I didn't even read that yet. I just knew this was a critical document because I just know this is a critical document. So you want to make sure that the date of the signing appointment is correct. So you want to make sure it's the date of that day that you guys are signing. So yes, so each borrower must receive at least 2 executive copies of the notice of right to cancel. Okay, so the notice of right to cancel is pretty much allowing you to cancel this entire thing. So this is a refinance document. So you're literally allowed to cancel right now. So that's what this document is saying. So most of the time, they're not going to want to. I never had a signer that was like, I've been through this entire refinance process, and today is the day where I want to cancel all of this. No, most of the time, they're not going to want to do that. So you're just going to briefly tell them that the notice of right to cancel just tells them that they have 3 business days to cancel if they want to. Okay, so they have to turn this document in 3 business days, and they would have to sign right here only if they want to cancel. So that's why it says do not sign here, because if they sign here, that means they want to cancel, because these documents, this entire packet is going to go back to the lender. When a lender goes through these documents and this is signed, that means that they want to cancel. And if they turned in those documents the day after, then that's between those 3 business days. So the rescission date is the 16th. So this is the day of the signing, which is the 13th. So that's 3 business days. For the most part, that's what you're telling the signers. You're telling the signers that this notice of right to cancel, if you sign here, is pretty much saying that you have the right to cancel in 3 business days, this entire transaction. But if they don't want to cancel, which most of the time they do not, they've been through the refinance process for months, they just want to close, you will direct them right here at the bottom. Sign and date. They will no, do not sign here. X, just ignore this. All right, just tell them what it is, but ignore this section. Leave it blank and sign here. Richard Williams Rogers, and then date. All right, and most of the times, a lot of companies are going to give you like 2 to 4, okay, just for one person. And then that's when they're going to give you another 2 to 4 for their wives or their husbands. So you should expect the notice of right to cancel back to back during the signing, okay? All right, cool. So we got that, turning that around. All right, we're seeing numbers. What did I tell you guys about numbers? Federal Truth in Lending Disclosure Statement. We're gonna give this to them and just go through it with them like this. You can start with the bold and just tell them to look at it. Just be like, this is the annual percentage rate. This is the finance charge. This is the amount financed. This is the total payment. This is the total sale price. And this is the total estimate monthly payment right here. Are you okay with those numbers? I'll give you a second to take a look at that. Okay, give that to him. He takes a look at it. Yeah, I'm cool with these numbers. It's whatever at this point. It's been like 5 months since I'd be trying to refinance. It's a continuation, okay? I just want you to make sure you look at those. I see these boxes are filled. Make sure that applies to you, okay? And then I will have you sign right here, Mr. Richards, and then you'll date there if you're okay with those numbers there, okay? Alrighty, awesome. So I'm gonna have you flip that over now that that's signed, and we're gonna move on to the deed of trust. So the deed of trust, another critical document. Honestly, this entire packet is critical, but this one, let's do up close and personal. Okay, so deed of trust always requires a notarization. It's a critical document, also known as the security instrument, and this is presented with a note. So after the deed of trust, most likely the note will come right after, because a deed of trust is secured with a note, okay? And I'm gonna break down what a deed of trust and a note is. You're just gonna make sure that this information here is correct, that his name is Richard William Rogers, and he's an unmarried man, etc., etc. And there's usually 14 pages with the deed of trust. So what I do with a deed of trust, before I explain what a deed of trust and a note is, I literally do this, make sure that all 14 pages are there. I just continue going and I try to find the 14th page, but I just make sure all the documents are there. I look at the bottom, that's what I'm looking at right here. 9 of 14. Keep going. So right here, because not every deed of trust requires an initial. A lot of them do, so just make sure you do or don't see that. So he needs to initial each individual page. So I'm just gonna make sure first, before I give it to him, that all the 14 pages are there. All right, so yes, they're all there. Perfect. All right, so this is a deed of trust. And then this is the last page where I need him to sign. And there's no date. If you don't see date, there's no date. Seal means sign. Okay, I don't know why they put seal. Sometimes it's going to require a witness, but The instructions when you get the confirmation page will tell you if you needed one. So if they told you you didn't need one, don't worry about the witness section. But if they told you you needed one, this is where the witness is going to sign. This is the 14th page where you have to notarize it. So you're going to put the county of where you are right now. So I am in, let's say, Cumberland County. So this is County of Cumberland on April 11th, 4/11/2023. Before me, Lisa Tiote, personally appeared Richard William Rogers. If it's not there, fill it out. And then notary signature right here. That's going to be me. My printed name here is where you're going to put your printed name. You can stamp it right here. As long as you stamp it, there's no science behind it. There's multiple ways to do the deed of trust. You can give it to them and ask them if they're okay with me passing the entire packet to them so they can initial it and then bring it back to me when they're done. Or you can keep it and give it to them one by one. There's no science to it. Just make sure they're all initialed and signed. So a deed of trust is what's called collateral. This is not how I'm going to explain it to them, but this is how I'm explaining it to you so you know. Collateral is for the lender. So a deed of trust, sometimes it's called a mortgage. Sometimes it says mortgage. It depends on the state. But in North Carolina, we're a deed of trust state, which pretty much means that there's going to be an attorney associated with the property. An attorney is already present to pretty much get the process of foreclosure started. All right. So that's what a deed of trust state is. A mortgage state, because sometimes it's going to say mortgage because you're going to get documents from other states. Mortgage state doesn't immediately have an attorney attached with the documents. It's going to eventually go into foreclosure, but they're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to do this whole thing. It's going to be a whole process before they can get their money back or whatever. So deed of trust is pretty much security for the lender. That's the easy way to say it. Then once they finish initialing and signing, they're going to put it back here or give it to me and I'll put it back on my pile here, which I need to organize, by the way. So usually I just make sure this is organized every couple of pages and just try to stay neat. Okay, you don't want them to think that you're a messy notary. Okay, so like I said, he's gonna sign here. No witnesses and instructions needed. Notarize that. Moving on to the note. So the note goes along with the deed of trust. So the note and the deed of trust are usually right next to each other. So the deed of trust is collateral for the lender, right? So the note is a promise to pay back the loan. And when I say collateral, it means that there's something that they're able to take if you don't pay back your loan. Example, your house. They're able to take your house, and the note goes along with the deed of trust because it's saying that I promise to pay back the loan, because you're signing a contract now that's saying that you promise to pay back the loan. So this is what's going to seal the deal for the lender to take whatever they need to take in, since you didn't fulfill your promise to pay back the loan. All right, so what I just tell them is that this is what's called a note. It's a critical document, by the way. It's actually the most important document in this loan packet is what they're saying here, and I agree. So what I tell them what a note is, I tell them exactly what I just said, but I say it in short form. So I just say, so a note is just a promise to pay back the loan, okay? So there's 4 pages, and you don't usually need to sign these 3 pages, all right? So you don't have to sign anything. I flip it over, and then I give this to them, and I let them know that they have to sign here with no dates if they're okay with what I told them the note is. Okay, the note is a promise to pay back the loan, okay? And then that's when they say, okay, no problem. And then, because that's why they took out the loan in the first place, because they need to borrow the money to pay it back. That's what this document's saying, all right? Okay, so this is what's called a condominium rider.